Hi everyone, I just wanted to give you a quick how-to on doing chapter 1 for Web 115. The textbook, especially on page 60, talks about the student data files. This textbook is brand new and so far there are no student data files. And in any case, I wouldn't want you to use them. We're going to just use the console that comes with Google Chrome. It's part of their developer tools. So let me show you how to access that and then you can follow along with chapter 1, read it yourself. I'm not going to read it to you, but you can follow the steps and see the output in the console so you'll understand what he is talking about. So start by opening Chrome, and then you're going to need the development tools. Here I pulled up a web page that shows you the keyboard shortcuts. So if you're on a Mac, it's Command Option J. If you are on a Windows, it's Control Shift J. Or you can just go through the menu and click the three dots and more tools and then developer tools. And you can slide this to take up more or less space. You're only going to be working in the console for this part, so you don't really need the web page itself. Let me close that. All right, and then just choose console up here. You see I've got a couple of error messages for resources and cookies. Just ignore that. What we're interested in is the caret right here. That's where you're going to start typing. So for example, he starts talking about numeric data types and representing them in JavaScript on the very beginning of chapter 2. And then on page 42, you see the first arithmetic expression you do in the console. So all you have to do is type exactly what you see in his little examples. So the first one looks like this. And then hit enter. You can see it already gave me the answer 169. It already appears. If I hit enter, it just gives me a new cursor so I can start again. And that's basically it. You're just going to keep working in the console. You can do the next exercise, which is using parentheses. So this is on page 43. Put an F in there. And if you haven't hit enter, you can go back and make changes on the line. Which brings me to another important point. We're going to be creating variables and functions later. As long as you don't reload your page or close this window out, all of the variables you create and the functions you create will be available. You can continue to use them as long as you can still see them on this console screen. So for instance, let's see. When he first starts talking about variables on page 44, he uses the analogy of a box that has a name on the outside of it. I always call variables a little space in memory that stores a value for you and you give it a name, but I like the box analogy. And the first one you're creating is, let me see if I can find the console here. He doesn't have anything until page 48. You're welcome to type some of these let r equal 10 and r equals 2.5 examples, but for me, I think it's best if you just type the stuff that is shown in a JavaScript console box, like at the bottom of 48. So in this case, we are declaring a constant. So const, and you can see it autofills for you. If you start typing and the word that you are trying to type comes up, you can hit enter and it'll accept that autofill for you. So it'll save you some typing. But we're going to create a constant called pi with a value of 3.14159.265, and then semicolon, which is very important punctuation in JavaScript. And you see right now it's undefined. So type the next caret that you see in this example on page 48. We're going to let r have a value of 10, semicolon. All right, and now we can do some work here. We can let area have a value of, and we're going to multiply our variables, which are constant, and our variable, which is defined above. And because I have not refreshed the page, it will remember the value of those. So area is our new variable, and we're going to let its value be the constant pi multiplied by r multiplied by r, typos again, r, and then end it in a semicolon. All right, and so now to get it to show that math, all we have to do is tell it to tell us the value of area. And there it is. So that's all you're going to do to do all the console exercises through most of the book. It moves on to, let's see, the different strings, the math libraries, string operations, which basically in chapter 1 he just talks about concatenation and then finding the length. So there's two very basic string operations. So a string function that he has here is, let me use another example from the book. This is on page 55. And of course I want you to go through and read all of the pages and everything he has on all the pages, but just so you can get an example of how this console works. We're going to, I got to go back. Create a function. You can see it's autofilling. I just hit enter and it gives me the full word. Call it double string, and this is camel case, where the first word is lowercase and every subsequent word has the first letter capitalized. It will take an argument of str, and then the curly braces define what the function actually does. And we're going to have it just return str plus str, semicolon, and then we'll close the curly brace because that's all the function will do. And then when I hit enter, we've declared this function, but we haven't actually called it and told it to do anything. So if I call it and say do double string and pass it the parameter of boo, and what he says about quotes is you can do double quotes or single quotes, just be consistent, and you will run into errors if you switch back and forth. So I prefer single. I'm trying to force myself to stick with single, but I often forget. All right, so double string has a value of boo, and now it says boo boo. If we give double string and pass it the value of, I'll do double quotes for this one, hot, then you can see it says hot shots. So that's how you use the console. The second half of this chapter, starting on page 56, is running JavaScript in a browser. But I want you to do all of the JavaScript console exercises up to page 56 and then just take a screenshot. You've got a snipping tool, or you can just do print screen. If you're not sure how to do screenshots, just Google it. There's a million different ways. Let me see some of your code in the console. If you accidentally closed the window and restarted and not all of it is showing, or if you got some errors in the middle of it because you mistyped something, that's fine. I just want you to submit and let me see what your work looks like in the console, the Google Chrome console. All right, but for the second half of it, for the Hello World program, starting on 56, 57, it discusses how JavaScript actually runs in a browser as part of a set of interrelated documents. You've got the index page, which is connected to the CSS for styling, which is connected to the JavaScript for the interactivity. And they walk you through the steps on starting on page 57, all the way through, goodness, it goes on for a while, all the way through 61 where you get to testing and bugging. I'm going to tweak what he wants you to do here because I want to use WebStorm. A lot of this stuff that he has you do, a lot of the steps are already done for you because we're using a JavaScript integrated development environment. So if you do want to clear the browser, if you have a bunch of errors and you want to start over, this button right here will clear the console. I'm sorry, not the browser. And it just gets rid of everything. I haven't hit enter, which is why this one stayed. But that's a way for you to get a clean surface to work on if that was what you preferred.